Hello and welcome back. It's been a little while since I last posted a video, but I figured now was the perfect time since everyone's doing the mid-year freakout book tag, and I figured I would do it. This is my first time ever doing this tag, which is really exciting, but also hard to believe that I haven't been on BookTube for more than a year yet. Like, I feel like I've been doing this for a long time now. If you don't know, the mid-year freakout book tag is a tag that people do around like June or July every single year, detailing the best books, the worst books, most disappointing, other books that you want to read throughout the year, covers all of those questions, and the questions can vary depending on who the content creator is, but there's like a general set that the booktubers usually use. This will be first time going through the questions, sharing responses, and I'm incredibly excited to do it because I feel like my reading year has been going really well so far. Before we jump into the tag, one of the things that I just wanted to go over is the fact that I have a cute little journal spread ready for my answers. This video will kind of solidify what's going in there. Now let's dive into the first question of the tag, which is, how is your reading year going? It's going tremendously well. Thank you very much. I want to give a special shout out to audiobooks because they have made this year so much more manageable, and I'm a happier girl because of it. I have read 55 books this year so far, which is like unheard of for me. Usually I'm anywhere from like the 70 to 80 books a year type of range, but like on Goodreads, I'm like 16 books ahead of schedule, it says, which I've never been that far ahead. Really exciting. I'm hoping that maybe I could even read 100 books, but audiobooks have been really helpful. Next question we're going to go over is, what is the best book that you've read this year? Hands down, absolutely nobody close running in contention with this book is I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue. I think about this book every day, most of the time, multiple times a day. I absolutely adore this book with my entire being, and I will use every single last breath of mine to recommend it. This is a like contemporary literary fiction type book, extremely character driven. We follow our main character Jolene as she's working an administrative job for like a larger like superstore type organization, and she's grappling with some mental health issues, and she feels like she's lost her sense of purpose. So we're kind of following her as she gains admin access to all the emails of people in her department, which is so interesting, and it is poignant and emotional yet really funny at the same time. Like, Jolene's sense of humor and being in her head, all the things she says is really hilarious. Her self-deprecating humor really helps you get through the story and makes you want to root for her. I adore this book. It's 5 stars. I don't think anything else is going to beat it. It will be on like multiple lists at the end of the year talking about it. Next question we'll go over is, what is the best sequel that you read this year? I've read, I don't know how many like actual sequels that I've read, but I know the one that stands out for sure is Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I read A Darker Shade of Magic a long time ago. I think it was like 2020, something like that, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But this is like 4 steps up. I loved this book. It is definitely a tournament arc, which we love. I thought that the magic was so descriptive, so incredible, and there's a new character who is like one of my new faves. His name's Alucard. He's great. There's also a cat, which I love too. This story is like taking place in London, where magic exists for some people and they can use the powers. It usually manifests in different ways, usually correlating with like a different element or something. But we're following a thief by the name of Delilah, and then an Antari, which is the name of a special magic user by the name of Kel. So they get up to some antics, and this is the continuation of book 1, and it is breakneck, and I love it. Thank you. Yeah. So my fiance bought me a shirt, and I don't know where to put my microphone as I'm opening this. I hope you don't hear the crinkling, but it is a bookish shirt, so it's very on brand. All right, so it's a quote from Lord of the Rings that says, "I am no man." And it's like written in the font and everything, and I absolutely love that, and we'll be wearing it in like the next video that I record. Okay, pivoting from that, the next question we're going to go over is, what is a new release book that you have not read yet? I feel like there's a ton, but the two that really stick out to me are going to have to be All Better Now by Neil Shusterman. I love Neil Shusterman. He is like one of my favorite authors. He wrote the Scythe series, Unwind, that sort of thing. Just the way he writes dystopian fiction, it's it reigns true no matter what year you're reading it. That's how good he is. I am excited to read this one. This is his newest one that came out in February. It's kind of a pandemic book. Like I think there's an epidemic going around that's like happiness, but it numbs you out, and we're following some people who decide to resist and some that decide to take it. So, as Neil Shusterman does, he's got a lot of social commentary in all of his work, and I'm really excited to see what this one brings. I'm borrowing this from the library that I'm about to start working at too, because apparently they do a whole dystopian section for the middle schoolers. So I'm hoping maybe I can connect with some people about this then too. But very excited, and it's mine for the summer. So yay! The other book that I'm really interested in getting to and will have to get to is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually went to an author talk and got to hear Reid talk about her latest book, some of her old characters, and that was just so much fun. We also were in the coolest venue in Ann Arbor, which was awesome. It was like this, like, I don't want to say like atrium, but like event area that looked gorgeous. I'll put some pictures over here, but it was a 10 out of 10 experience. And the bookstore that hosted it, we went there afterwards. Incredible store. I had a great time. This book is one of Taylor Jenkins Reid's like snapshot of the past type books where it takes place in the 1980s and it's following a story centered around the first woman in space. So it's connected to the Challenger mission, which you know how that ended if you know anything about history. I'm excited to see where we fill in the gaps with this. Plus, this cover is just gorgeous. I also went through a space phase as a young fifth grader where all I wanted to learn about was the stars. So I'm hoping this scratches the itch that I had for a while. And the last book that I'll add into this little category is Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang, also borrowing this from my local library. But I read Natural Beauty earlier this year and loved it, gave it 5 stars. I've heard really good reviews about this so far, so I'm hoping this can also be 5 stars. But this book deals with an art student, and there's AI and sapphic undertones. But that's about all I know, which I'm fine with. Next question is second half of the year releases that you're really excited for. So this is kind of a spoiler to one of the things I'm going to answer, but I really, really got into the book Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. And the way that C.G. Drews, that's so hard to say, writes is so amazing. For like young adult, it is like gothic and descriptive and beautiful prose, and I love it. And they have a book that's coming out later this year, like in October, called Hazelthorn, that I'm so excited about. It's like botanical horror, and this has been my year of horror. Like every book that I've given 5 stars, like not every book, that's not true. A lot of the books I've given 5 stars have been horror this year. It's been awesome. The other book that I'm really looking forward to is going to be Hot Wax by ML Rio. I love If We Were Villains. It's on my favorite shelf, like right here. It broke my brain when I first read it. Like, it was my favorite book that year. And I did not love Graveyard Shift, which is actually in my unhaul pile right now, which is kind of a bummer because I spent birthday money on it. But I'm hoping that Hot Wax is much better. I know it takes place in like the 90s. We're following a rock band, and there's chaos and drama that ensues from there. I don't know, I'm excited. They finally released what the new cover looks like, and it is so cool. Next question is biggest disappointment of the year so far. I've had quite a few bummers this year. Um, my response is probably going to be similar to a lot of other people's, but I would say my biggest disappointment is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Like last year, I had 2 Abby Jimenez books on my top 10. I loved the whole like Part of Your World trilogy, as most girls my age do. And I was anticipating this was going to give me the same feeling. Instead, I felt rage. I am so upset too because I pre-ordered this book and bought it for my e-reader so that I could read it on release day, be up to date with all of the interesting things in the book, and it was such a bummer. I was so bored a lot of the time. Like I was skimming through the last bit of it. I enjoyed the first quarter. I read it so quickly. I was like, oh, this is so fun. But then after like the same things just kept happening over and over, and I found it repetitive. I felt like some of the characters didn't feel as fleshed out. But Say You'll Remember Me is a romance between Samantha and Xavier. Xavier's a vet. Samantha is a like marketing associate who meets Xavier because of like a happenstance with a cat, and they get off on the wrong foot. She proves him wrong, and then he comes around and they ask each other out. And they go out, have a wonderful date, but then the next day Sam is moving across the country. And it's kind of following their story of how they're picking up the pieces from that, trying long distance, but also Sam's mom has dementia and she has to go take care of her. The story fell flat for me because I don't know if I'd noticed this before, but I feel like a lot of the writing in this book was really simplistic, almost to the point where she was just feeding us exactly what the characters were thinking, and there wasn't like the nuance behind it. It would be like, he touched my hand and I liked it, instead of like, his fingers brushed my palm and I feel my heart warm or something like that. There was like not much poetic language, which was really upsetting. But the worst offense was the fact that instead of describing to us what Xavier looked like as a love interest, she just kept comparing him to Rysand from ACOTAR. And I don't like ACOTAR. I don't like any of Sarah J. Maas's books. So reading that, not once, not twice, not three times, more than that, I wanted to take a star off for every single time that the stupid Fae was mentioned. That book aside, very upset about it. I think I talked more about it in my wrap up. We're going to move on. The biggest surprise, though, which I am so excited to talk about, is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I read this for my horror book club, and I had seen Gabby Reed's give it a 5 stars, said it was great. I know, oh gosh, one other person that I saw gave it 5 stars, but otherwise, no one else was rating it at the time. No one. And then now it seems to be everywhere and people love it, and for a good reason. It is a fantastic book. This is actually a YA horror, which is crazy because it tackles so many dark themes like grief, depression, like inner demons, trauma, eating disorders, like all these sorts of things, all in this book, all told with beautiful metaphors and vivid imagery. This book is scary and so well written. And now I will read anything that C.G. Drews comes out with because this book was so exceptional. This ties in, new favorite author, also C.G. Drews, because of everything that I just said about Don't Let the Forest In. But I am so excited to read more of their stuff. They have a few things out, and I think so. Hazelthorn, I mentioned, is coming out, and then they also have another one that's coming out maybe in 2026, and I'm not sure if that one's an adult book or if it's YA. But keep your eyes open. Next question is a book that made you cry. I'm sure absolutely no one will be surprised. This is the only book that made me cry this year, and it's because of the ending. The ending was what I needed in my life to tell me to do something else. If a book makes you cry, it did something right. That's my mentality. Polar opposite, a book that made you happy. I actually loved the book First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I was kicking my feet, enjoying the chemistry between these two. Lucy is a fantastic female lead. I loved following her. And this book was just, it was so fun hearing someone like talk about wanting to love and having a person know them so deeply. I was like, yes, this is great. I literally ordered a pineapple pizza for lunch while I was right after I'd finished this book because that was like their thing together, and I was like, that sounds so good and I want to be happy. We follow our main character Lucy, I may have mentioned that, and a radio show host by the name of Aiden. And what happens is Lucy's young daughter, her daughter's like 12, calls into like this late night show that Aiden hosts, which is like a love advice hotline. And she calls on behalf of her mom. And her mom finds out that she's doing this. And then she and Aiden have a conversation that kind of blows up on the internet because of how cute it is and how much people really enjoyed it. And we follow Lucy joins the radio show. And it's Lucy's like search for love essentially. It's so much fun, such positive representation of like co-parenting and things in this too. Just an overall great time. Next up is the most beautiful book that I have bought this year. I haven't bought any like special editions or anything crazy, but I will say the one book that I just think is gorgeous is Welcome to the Humandong Bookshop. Like, absolutely stunning. Look at this purple. I'm obsessed with it. The spring cover is also really beautiful too. But there's something about this nighttime one that like speaks to me, and I really, really love it. It also matches like the tabs and stuff that I put into it. Yeah, but I've not bought any special editions or anything really this year. So I guess that's good, but I've already bought more books than I thought I was going to. Anyways, last question we're gonna do is what books do you have to read by the end of the year? I have to read a lot. I have a list. Hold on. Beginning of the year, I made a list of 25 books I wanted to read in 2025, and I've actually done a decent job of going through some of the options, not all of them, but some of them I mentioned in this video already. So we'll just run through the ones that I still have to read, and we'll go from there. First book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I read the first half of this book, and I don't remember like anything that happened. I think my head wasn't in the right space at the time, so I need to sit down with it. The hard part was I don't feel drawn back to the story, so we'll see if that one actually happens. Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. Ooh, I've been meaning to read this forever. I have gotten it from the library thrice now and haven't read it any of the times. I also have a friend, shout out to you. He always comments on my videos. Hi. He probably really wants me to finish the series, and I have to finish 3 to 5 series by the end of the year, so I should probably get on that. Litfic book that I want to read is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I know that book is going to destroy me, and I love a good cry, as I said. I need to just read it, bottom line. Continuing on the trend of sad girl litfic, I want to read The Wedding People by Alison Espach. I think that's her name. I have the Book of the Month edition, and that I got Book of the Month just so I could get one of the free hats. It's really cute. Next is Imaginary Friend, which is down in the horror section. That is by Stephen Chbosky, who wrote Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's crazy to me to jump from like YA contemporary to adult horror, and I want to see like the change there. I've heard it's a very literary horror, which I'm really excited about. I also bought that book at a really, really cool bookstore in Indianapolis, so I always remember that. This is another one of this is like a must finish. The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I read The Poppy War last year, loved it. I'm starting to lose a little bit of memory based on passage of time, so I need to actually read that book. The problem is I get like 20 pages in or like a chapter or two in the audiobook, and then I stop. I need to just power through because I loved The Poppy War, and I know I'm going to love this one, so I need to just do it. Another one is, this is like very fantasy heavy now all of a sudden. I was very optimistic. I want to read The Will of the Many too, which is like a 650 page book. That's by James Islington. I have not heard a bad review about it. Not heard a bad review. Paperback edition just came out. I think it's kind of calling to me, so I need to get on that. Also, I want to read Beartown by Frederick Bachman because I read A Man Called Ove earlier this year. Did not love it, but I have Beartown on my shelf that I got from a used bookstore, so I need to read that. I want to read another Brandy Sandy, Tress of the Emerald Sea. That's another one I want to get to. I mentioned All Better Now in Atmosphere. Those still remain true. I have Parable of the Sower on here by Octavia E. Butler because she's talking about the time frame now. The book takes place now, but she wrote it like 20 some years ago. I want to see what you got right. Next we have Betty, which is by Tiffany McDaniel. One of my absolute best friends in the whole world loves that book. She said I need to read it, and I've owned it for a while now, so need to get on that. I've heard it's great. The other two books we have The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, which would go along with me wanting to read nonfiction books. That's like a collection of essays just talking about random things in the world from Canadian geese to sunsets. Very excited to read an adult John Green book because I've only read like his YA and I only liked one of those. So I'm interested to see how the writing differs. And the last book I'll mention, which I actually just got this book, I Got Mary by Nat Cassidy. Nat Cassidy wrote Nestlings, and his newest book is When the Wolf Comes Home, which I also want to read, but it's not like something that I'm like, I have to read by the end of the year. Since I've been on such a big horror kick, maybe I will jump into this. But this book is like a menopausal horror about this woman who's going through menopause, and she literally is seeing people's faces being melted off, like when she looks at them or looks in the mirror. And everyone keeps thinking that she's hysterical because she's a woman. Isn't that fun? It looks so much longer than it actually is. This book is only like 390 pages, but it looks like it's 500. I think that's going to be a wrap on the mid-year freakout book tag. I had a lot of fun doing this. It's fun to reflect on your reading year and actually have books to answer each of the questions. Like, it's been so fun to go through this list, pull out the books that I've had from my good reading year so far, and I'm excited to share more like stats and things as the year continues on. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a comment about like what your favorite book was or answers to any of the questions. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm by the same handle, Pages and Pastimes, over there, as well as I have a Webtoons comic with one of my friends. He's an illustrator. He's really, really great, and I do a lot of the writing. It's called Tales of Grandeur. So if you're interested in that, I will leave a link in the description. I will see you in the next one. Bye!